Okay, on the road again. Last week I was in Los Angeles doing a bunch of guitar hunting, a bunch of biz down there. Got back Monday night. Tuesday morning, jumped in the car, 2 cars, headed down to Southern Oregon and just picked up a ton of amazing guitars. The other car, we just loaded up. Everything slept with us last night, but there's half a dozen tweed amps, tons more guitars. These are some of the big ones we're just about to bring downstairs, but really, really exciting. I mean, 54 Strat, 59 Strat, 57 Strat, 54 Gold Top, 64 335, 63 SP Special, 63 Firebird. There's tons more. So after we load this all in, we are going to head to Portland and go visit our dear friend Chris Benson of Benson Amplifiers. Chris is an old-time buddy, and we obviously carry his amps. We love what he does. And so we're gonna go say what's up to him, spend the day with him. Yeah, it's been nonstop on the road, but we're coming home with some good lumber. All right, we're at Bullfrog Music in Corvallis. Saw a guitar in there last night on the way to dinner that I want to go check out, and I think I'm gonna bring home with me.
Could have been 295s or 175s, because it's a 175 and a 295 are essentially the same thing, just more of a limited run, of course, made for Les Paul. And you're welcome to plug it in, you're welcome to take pictures, like I said, you're welcome to take your time. You can throw it up on here if you want. Thank you. Here's
I'm Jay, by the way.
Jay, Sean. Nice to meet you.
Trevor's dad,
Nice.
partner. Brian. It'll just take a second. I'm not going to do anything to it. Just make sure it's not frozen.
I think that's a wise decision. Part of the mojo on this is those pickups. They sound awesome. I put flat wounds on here because I figure
It's cool like
it
that.
could be a jazz cat, it could be a rockabilly guy, you know. I mean, Scotty Moore, of course, played it with Elvis.
We're looking for the date codes on the potentiometers. The knobs are changed. We'll find out what the deal is. I like this amp.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay. Little Alamo made in San Antonio. Like Sean said, Tejas.
It looks.
Get in there. It's part of the
It is. Yes.
story.
It is part of the story.
Thank you to Sean at Bullfrog
Sean.
Music.
Bullfrog Music.
Definitely a very rad music store. If you're in Corvallis, come check it out.
Well, that was a cool find. We kind of knew where we were going to get all these big vintage guitars. That was something I've been working on for a little bit. It's so cool. 1954 ES 295, which is typically gold. It's basically a 175 with a floral pickguard, gold finish, kind of the nice big cousin of the Les Paul back in the day. But this is factory black, which looks cooler to me, probably just because I've seen so many gold ones. But yeah, so it is not every day you gotta kind of pop into an off-the-grid shop and take a vintage piece like that. So hopefully we find a cool, deserving home for it. Someone who's gonna play the hell out of that guitar. So we're 22 minutes away from meeting up with Chris Benson. I feel like everybody knows who Chris Benson is. Benson Amplifiers are on the coolest stages. They're in all the studios, and I think the most important, kind of popular amp that's come out in the last decade. Chris has Northwest roots, Seattle roots. He's a great musician. He plays guitar, he sings, he writes music, and he was just a pleasure to hang out with. So he's done a lot for the guitar community and changed and shaped the sounds of a lot of records and live shows. Chris does a lot of the work at his house, you know, his brainchild. He's got the studio and this whole setup there. But the real kind of, you know, purpose behind this trip and bringing Ken and doing a little filming was to just give some love to a brand that we've worked with a long time that we really respect and just hang. Dude, what's going on, man?
How you doing, man?
The guy that built this place just showed up.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and that's his truck. He's like, I built this place in 1971. He's still here.
No
He's
way.
like looking all around, telling me all about the property. Like, oh yeah, you know.
No way, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Want to meet your dog?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Come on.
Oh,
Molly, that's a friend too, so don't go barking.
All right, we just arrived at House of Benson. We're gonna dive into all the good amp stuff, but Chris is making us some burgers right now, so we're gonna eat first. All right, Benson burger. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna
did you
be.
say this was a pool?
Yeah, this
Was that
used to
here
be a
when you
pool.
moved in, or?
No, we had no idea. We thought it was just like a weird retaining wall. And then someone was like, they had a pool there. Makes sense.
Wow. Makes a nice wall.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of works.
So this is the flare. Oh, cool, man.
This is the goat feed area now.
Put the tuna on those cabinets, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll follow you.
Awesome, man.
Cool whirly over there with the student.
It's actually Dan Phelps and fixing it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember having one of those.
Jay.
Jay, Cookie.
Cookie, hey man. Nice to meet you. Making magic out here, huh?
Oh, just making boards. Board magic.
Cookie, how long have you been working here?
6 years this summer. I'm the longest one.
That's a good run,
At
man.
these days, yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it started out rapping and stuff, and as we acquired a wood shop, it's like, I can do that. I'll do that.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
So Cookie is essentially just gluing together 1x4s here because it's hard to get clear pine as wide as we need it. So we just get 1x4s, glue them up, and he planes them down to 5/8, which is kind of the magic number for us.
What are these, Chris? Sneakers?
Yeah, those are Weber speakers.
Yeah.
Are you exclusively a Weber guy?
No, I'm a weirdo, is what I am. So we worked with Weber to do a 12-inch that I'm really into, but for 10 inches, I haven't found anything better than the Celestian Greenback. Yeah, everything's designed around those two speakers, pretty much.
You got a cool thing going on here, man. Just the whole looking at your garden, your kids stuff. There's a lot of
space out here.
good family vibes, kind of, you know. And
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely don't take it for granted. We were in like 600 square feet in Solwood altogether
with the kids.
with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
Awesome, Chris.
That's my prized jewel.
U48 or 47?
U67.
U67. Okay, cool. Wow.
Spend a lot of time up here.
Dude, I would too. And what do you have up here? What's the bedhead?
That's the very first. No, I'm sorry. That's the second amp I ever made. So that's actually the first cabinet that I ever built. So that started. That was a Hammond organ chassis, and yeah, I bought it off Craigslist or something, and looked up the 5E7 Bandmaster. It's not a Bandmaster anymore. I was very frugal back in the day. So now that's like a 5F6A, and that actually has like a 5F6A on one side and a Mesa Studio Caliber clean preamp on the other side, which is a circuit I was pretty into.
And this whole Fender.
Yeah, that's
Basement 10, huh?
yeah. Someone just gave me that chassis, and I built my first amp into it.
Your first?
Yeah,
Ever?
ever.
That's the one, huh?
Yeah,
That's like the first Starbucks.
and I sold.
Pike Place Market, you know.
Yeah, I sold it to this guy in Seattle. I was just trying to get money to fund another build or something. And he came out to Ben Verellen's bar last year. We went up to do like a Gear Expo thing for Ben, and this guy shows up. He's like, "I'm Papkin." I was like, "Wait, do you have my first amp? I've been kind of thinking about looking for that." He's like, "I brought it."
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah. So he just handed it to me. I'm gonna make him the same circuit in a head.
Nice.
Benson spec and call it the Papkin.
That's awesome, man.
Dude, that amp will be worth $100 billion someday.
Well, it just doesn't sound like that. I've kind of had this room or this kind of space everywhere I've had my company, which is, I'll have a drum kit, microphones, a bunch of weird, like a pedal collection, and the inspiration behind, the music that I'm making here, and also the amplifiers that I'm designing here, it's kind of all coming from the same place. So it's all kind of integrated. So I can experiment with sounds and maybe put that on a record. I'm sure it looks bizarre to see a ton of instruments and recording equipment and then a tech bench, but that's my whole thing. I learned how to play piano when I was 6 or 7. Got into guitar in 8th grade. My parents wouldn't let me get into electric guitar because they thought it was too loud and I would do drugs or something. So I decided that I was going to be a bass player instead. Got an upright bass. I was like, well, now I need a bass amp. So they got me a bass amp, or they let me get a bass amp. I was like, cool. Bought a super cheap distortion pedal, super cheap like Phantom, like with a crazy bridge. And that was kind of my electric guitar rig, and that was kind of my way to get around that. And then I totally forgot about it and did lo-fi music for about 10 years. I was in a rehearsal space in Seattle in like the mid 2000s, and I plugged a bass into a silver panel Bassman. And the sound that came out was a lot different than what I'd been getting from my Ampeg solid state. I was like, well, that's interesting. This feels a lot more like an instrument, and I think I want to kind of chase what this is. It's like, well, I need one of these. I don't have any money at all because I'm a poor musician living in Seattle, but I am kind of handy, so I think I can look up how to make this online. Almost immediately, I was off to the races, kind of doing research, and I think I had a working Bassman clone in about 2 months. Some friends, they were like, oh man, that's really cool. Do you think you can make me one? At the same time, I got a job as an amp tech at Verellen, and I was also kind of experimenting with my own circuits and trying to basically figure out like what parts of guitar amps did what and how I could manipulate them and maybe rearrange them and stick them together into something new. So I would say the first few years kind of being, I guess, an amp tech and also making amps on the side. That was my education. So the company really got started when an entrepreneur, friend of a friend, said, hey, I want to invest some money, and I've heard your amps are really cool. You should start Benson Amps, and we should start Benson Amps, and I can bankroll it, and you can have your own amp company. And I thought he was crazy, but after a few months kind of stewing on it, I was like, yeah, got nothing better to do. That sounds good. He said, well, we need a good logo. And I was like, no, we don't. It's all about the sound for me. And he was like, no, it's got to look good. It's got to look as good as it sounds. You have to have a professional logo. And that was about the best advice I could have gotten. Like, we hired my friend, Nate Manny in Seattle. And he played guitar in Murder City Devils. So he was well into rock and roll. So he knew all the old cool logos and brands, and definitely drew from that. He kind of came up with the logo and the face panel, the numbers and everything. And he kind of developed that and did like a killer job, like right off the bat. Like, didn't have any notes. I didn't really care anyways because I didn't think I needed a logo. But in retrospect, that was the best money we've ever spent. Eventually, things kind of snowballed. I was like, well, I think I have to quit my day job. And then did it out of my garage with a couple friends for another year. Decided this was not the way to do things. We were just way too cramped and it was weird. Got our first shop in Portland in I think 2015 and hired a few more people. A couple years later, we're up to 10 in the same shop, moved to another bigger shop. Now we're in 3 different shops. The barn's kind of the wood shop, and we have a warehouse for upholstery and final shipping. And there's also a house shop in Portland where we do wiring and pedals and stuff like that. I was very lucky starting out because I had a bunch of connections already. I was good friends with Jessica. She was in the Shins at the time, but deep sea diver. I had repaired some stuff for Tucker Martine here in town. He ended up getting an amp, and I think the Head on the Heart immediately bought one, and a bunch of artists that I was connected with kind of already all of a sudden had Benson Amps. We started offering pedals in 2017. We did the preamp pedal. I was just expecting to sell 200 of them, and now I think we're 10,000 plus deep. So in terms of how many amps have I made up to date, I can go look and figure it out. I think the last I looked, it was over 3,500 or something like that. So there's a lot of Bensons floating out. There's a lot of artists using the amps right now. Artists I don't even feel like we deserve. Nathaniel Rateliff, Lucius, the Decemberists, Celise. Oddly enough, Neil from Clutch. His favorite amp is the Chimera, which I never would have guessed, but it does classic rock. And man, I've been a big fan of Clutch. So there's so many, and I'm gonna get skewered for forgetting a bunch of people. I wish it was easier to get a Benson. Maybe someday it will be, but right now we're working off a closed list for direct orders. We closed in 2021. I think we still have 1,000 names to get through. But with that, we don't want to just completely close the door on all new customers, and we care a lot about local guitar shops. And so a full half of the amps that we make actually just get distributed to dealers. So if you're looking to get a Benson amp and you're not on the list, you should definitely follow all of the dealers that get them like a hawk, and you might be able to scoop one up. I'm an amp tech. I'm a musician. I'm not like a business guy. So I don't want to be running a corporation. So the next step is probably trying to figure out what to do. I have no idea. I kind of hope someone comes in and buys it or buys part of it, and then I just get to design.
All right, that was awesome. We just wrapped up with Chris Benson, just a lovely guy, and so fun seeing his old compound out there and his shop. It's just a great way to wrap up a couple weeks of traveling for me, and then this 3-day run we've done. And he sent me home with a pink Benson stonk box. It's going in my personal pink guitar pedal collection. Yeah, let's head home, unload the gear.
Bye.